In the first scene of the movie, Shuri, Letitia Wright, is hard at work in her lab trying to heal T'Challa of an unidentified disease. When she discovers a potential answer, Raymunda, Angela Bassett, greets her and somberly informs Shuri that her brother has passed away. For their beloved king, the people of Wakanda conduct a funeral march. There is a mural depicting T'Challa and every citizen wears white. Until a spacecraft arrives to take T'Challa up, Shuri and Raymunda will be carrying his coffin outside. Shuri spends one more moment sobbing over her brother's coffin as the kingdom salutes in Wakandan. Raymunda visits the United Nations a year later. Wakanda is reprimanded by the U.S. Secretary of State for breaking their vow to get involved in international matters. The French SOS adds that they think the Wakandans are hoarding vibranium to use in the construction of WMDs. Raymunda responds by saying that they are still in sorrow over T'Challa and that they are aware of the potential consequences of vibranium falling into the wrong hands. The previous night, mercenaries intending to steal vibranium broke into an outreach center in Mali, but they were intercepted by Dora Milaje fighters led by Okoye, Denigurira, who quickly rendered them helpless. The captured mercenaries are then brought before the UN by the Dora Milaje, where Okoye makes them bow. Raymunda tells them before they leave that further attempts like this will be greeted with a ferocious retaliation. A CIA team led by Dr. Graham, Lake Bell, operates a vibranium detecting device in the Atlantic Ocean. Before being captured and executed by unidentified assailants, two divers who went underwater discovered that their mining drill had been destroyed. Soon after, a tribe of Talogans with blue skin appears and attacks the ship, murdering everyone on board. The Talaking chief Namor, Tenok Werda Mejiya, takes the chopper and throws it into the water as Dr. Graham and her colleague try to escape in it. Shuri is still working on new technologies when Raymunda and Okoye arrive back in Wakanda. Shuri rejects her mother's suggestion that she keep working on her artificial heart-shaped herb to revive the Black Panther, since she sees the Black Panther as a historical artifact and only created the herb to save T'Challa. Raymunda then takes Shuri to the water to attempt to burn their ceremonial attire in order to end the period of mourning and start celebrating T'Challa's life. Shuri is upset with the world over her brother's passing. Soon after, Namor appears and greets Raymunda and Shuri. He expresses his displeasure with T'Challa's choice to open Wakanda to the outside world and claims that this left his country open to invasion because Talogans also possess vibranium. In order to prevent an attack on Wakanda, Namor commands them to find and deliver to him the scientist who developed the vibranium detecting device. He also cautions them against telling anyone else about him. Okoye is given the mission by Raymunda to find the scientist, but Shuri goes anyway against her mother's wishes. She searches for Everett Ross, Martin Freeman, in Virginia, where they question him about the scientist. Ross shocks everyone by revealing that the scientist is Riri Williams, a student at MIT, Dominique Thorne. Riri's vibranium detecting device was really a class project that the CIA obtained, which Shuri reveals to her as she enters her dorm room and tells her that she must accompany them. Riri doesn't understand the urgency until Okoye forces her to accompany them after she emerges from the bathroom. To her garage, where she works on her projects, Riri takes Shuri and Okoye. As soon as FBI officers show up in the garage, the women are forced to act quickly and run away. While Shuri and Okoye try to flee, Riri gets her own iron armor outfit that allows her to fly. Before she runs out of oxygen, Riri flies high enough to shoot down the drone that is pursuing them. The drone then collides with a number of police vehicles, allowing Shuri and Okoye to continue traveling. Unfortunately, the Talogans trap them on a bridge and launch a water bomb at them, knocking Shuri unconscious, stopping them. The Talogons try to capture Riri when she crashes onto the scene, but Okoye fights them off, apparently killing 3 troops, before confronting the General Atuma, Alex Livin Ali. The other 3 Talogons rise uninjured when she shocks her own spear out of his hands, saving him from killing her. Okoye is thrown off the bridge when she tries to continue fighting. When Shuri regains consciousness, she instructs the Talogons to take both her and Riri with them. The following day, Ross visits the crime site on the bridge, where he is greeted by Contessa Valentina de Fontaine, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, the current CIA director and Ross's ex-wife. Shuri's Kimoyo beads are located by Ross, who stealthily takes them with him. In order to find Shuri, Okoye returns to Wakanda before the council and asks Raymunda to lead a team underwater. However, because Okoye failed to keep Shuri safe, Raymunda deprives her of both her status as general and her role as a member of the Dora Milaje. When Raymunda visits Shuri's laboratory, she requests that her AI Griot, Trevor Noah, locate Shuri's beads. Ross answers her call and speaks to her privately behind Val's back. He reveals to Raymunda that the CIA thinks Wakanda was behind the attack on the mining ship, but Raymunda is unable to provide much information regarding Namor's role. When Raymunda visits Haiti, she discovers Nakia, Lupita Nyong'o, who has been employed at a school since the blip. Despite their mutual joy at seeing one another, Raymunda points out that Nakia skipped T'Cholla's burial. Raymunda points out that among Wakandans, death is never the end, but Nakia says she couldn't stand to think of it as the end of his life. She requests Nakia's assistance in saving Shuri. In the Yucatan Peninsula, Nakia seeks for a local villager who has seen Namor and has heard of his legend as the Kukulkan, or the feathered serpent god. Before meeting Namor, Shuri is given traditional clothing to wear down in Talakang. He starts out by explaining that his mother, Maria Mercedes Koroyi, who was born in 1571, was a resident of a community that had been decimated by smallpox following the advent of Spanish conquistadors. For help, the populace turned to the god Chasi. They discovered a blue substance underwater, which they consumed to cure their illnesses. However, it turned their skin blue and forced them to stay underwater because they could no longer breathe air. With wings on his ankles and the capacity to breathe both on land and underwater, Namor was born different from the other children. When he went to bury his mother, he discovered the conquistadors pillaging and enslaving the people. His mother had died grieving over having missed her life on the surface. Namor and the Talogons attacked, and during the attack, a priest referred to Namor as un neo sin amor, a child without love, which is how Namor received his name because he has no love for the outside world. Shuri is shown his realm, which is affluent and thriving and is comparable to Wakanda, and he asks her to assist defend their kingdoms from the outside world. Nakia starts her quest to find Shuri and Riri. After speaking to Ross, who informed her that the CIA is attempting to take action against Wakanda over the mining ship attack, Raymunda meets with Namor in the background. Namor warns Raymunda against retaliating against the Wakandans if they risk Talakang's exposure after she commands him to take responsibility for it. Before Namora, Mabel Cadena, Namor's cousin, can assault Shuri, Nakia submerges herself and neutralizes her. Shuri is being grabbed by a second Talakang warrior when Nakia strikes her with a lethal sonic explosion. She flees with Shuri and Riri, but as she is dying, Namor discovers the warrior and interprets it as an attack on Wakanda. He then commands his men to retaliate. Nakia and Okoye rejoin in the city, but before they realize they are being attacked, they notice the region flooded. The Talogons start to flood the city with water bombs, damaging structures. As Shuri makes an effort to retaliate with her technology, M'Baku, Winston Duke, rallies his Jabari warriors into battle. When Namor arrives at the palace, he heavily waterbombs it, sinking Raymunda and Riri. Shuri is instructed by Namor to assist them in their assault on the surface world or Wakanda will be totally destroyed. Riri is brought to the surface by Raymunda, but they are both asleep. Riri is brought back to life by the Dora Milaje, but Raymunda has died. Raymunda is laid to rest at a funeral. As requested by T'Challa, M'Baku makes an effort to comfort Shuri and provide advice, but she is still in mourning over the death of her entire family. Ross is detained by Val in the meanwhile as she discovers he was speaking to Raymunda covertly. Shuri completes her Midnight Angel armor for Okoye and another Dora Milaje warrior, Annika, Michaela Coel, while Riri works on her own iron suit while the rest of Wakanda prepares for Namor's return. Shuri discovers that the bracelet Namor gave her has a substance that the Talogans used to live underwater, which she successfully combines with T'Challa's DNA to produce an artificial herb in the form of a synthetic heart. Shuri consumes the plant and enters the ancestral plane with Nakia and Okoye in the hopes of seeing Raymunda who can provide instruction. Instead, Killmonger, an obtrusive presence, greets her, Michael B. Jordan. He claims that she is just like him and that the reason she sees him is because she is motivated by her desire to get revenge on Namor for the death of her mother and her anger over the loss of her brother. T'Challa, according to Killmonger, was too honorable and would have chosen to spare Namor, just as he did Zima after his father was dead, if that had been an option. Shuri believes her mother and brother abandoned her when she awakens but is unable to tell Nakia that she saw Killmonger. She goes to find her own helmet though because she realizes that it is now her responsibility to lead the kingdom in combat. Shuri makes her first descent in her new Black Panther costume as a ship sails overhead as the tribes discuss their next course of action. M'Baku adamantly affirms that the Black Panther is still alive. The next step is then outlined in a speech by Shuri to the group. In order to weaken Namor and ultimately vanquish him, Shuri and Riri devise a plot to lure him toward a dry place. In order to draw the Talogans to them, the Wakandans board a ship and prepare for war while simultaneously sending a signal from another vibranium detecting device. The Talogans try to board the ship as the Dora Milaje and Jabari soldiers fight back during their clash. While Okoye and Annika fly in with their Midnight Angel costumes, Riri emerges wearing her brand new Ironheart armor suit. Riri blasts Namor while he is high enough, but Shuri captures him in her ship and starts draining the water on his skin. Namor attacks Riri while Okoye fights Atuma again while Okoye throws Atuma off the ship. Riri blasts Namor into the water. Shuri battles Namor with her outfit while he tries to break the ship with his spear. Shuri attempts to direct the ship toward the desert, but Namor is able to disassemble and destroy it, sending them crashing. While Namor and Shuri are still engaged in combat, Namor still has the strength to defeat Shuri and impale her. Before returning to her confrontation with Namor, Shuri is able to free herself and heal thanks to Killmonger's advice. She causes Namor to become significantly weaker by firing heat from her ship's exhaust onto him. When Raymunda appears to her in a vision and commands her to reveal herself to him, she snatches his spear and prepares to deliver the fatal blow. Namor complies with Shuri's request to submit so that none of their respective populations will suffer as a result of their quest for vengeance. He submits and is returned to the Talogans so they can end their conflict and go home. After that, Shuri sends Riri back to Boston but instructs her to keep her suit there because of concern that the US may start fighting with Wakanda again. She does give Riri her father's automobile, which has been fixed, though. Back in Talokang, Namor speaks to Namora and informs her that joining forces with Wakanda will benefit them as they lack any other allies who can defend them. Okoye leaves in the meantime to free Ross from imprisonment. Nakia says there is one thing she wants to accomplish, so Shuri rushes to Haiti to meet with her at the beach. She finally begins to shed tears for T'Cholla's passing as she sits down by a bonfire and burns her ceremonial attire. Nakia appears in the credits with Toussaint, Divine Love Kanata's son, Shuri's nephew, and the son of her and T'Cholla. Raymunda met him, according to Nakia, who also verifies that he has been contentedly residing there. Shuri is informed by Toussaint that T'Cholla is his Wakandan name. Shuri sits and beams, aware that her brother's legacy endures. A tribute to Chadwick Boseman is the final thing we see.